Number five, comfort. Number five, comfort. Responding to a hurting person with words, feelings, and touch to hurt with and for another's grief or pain, to give consolation with tenderness. Romans 12:15b, and mourn with those who mourn. Guys, I really want you to listen up on this one, because what I want to suggest is this idea of meeting our wife's desire for comfort is one of the top 3 ways that you can miss her. One of the top 3 ways that you can miss her. And I first want you to see like how God beautifully illustrates this for us in the person of Christ as he was here on earth. And again, the concept is mourning with those who mourn. Mourning with those who mourn. And guys, let's just face it, we're not good at this. Like when we see our wives crying as a result of them having a bad day, like the last thing that we want to do is mourn with them. Like we want to help them understand like what they could have done differently to not have a bad day. We want to start to explain, how maybe our day was a little bit worse, or we might want to do a number of other different things. But the most appropriate response when they are approaching you with having a bad day and being sad for whatever reason is to meet their need of the moment and to mourn with them. Remember the story of Lazarus. Lazarus dies, and the women call out to Christ and let him know that his good friend Lazarus has died. Do you remember what Jesus did? He did nothing for a couple days, right? But then after a time, he came back into the room with the women. And I kind of envision the scene as in, Jesus comes on the scene in the family room, if you will. And then in the bedroom, we have Lazarus over here who's been dead for a couple days. And do you remember what Jesus did in response to being in that room with all of those crying women? Shortest verse in the Bible, he wept. He wept. Now I want you to check this out, because guys, if I was Christ in that moment, I don't know that I would have responded like that. Remember, this is Jesus. Like, he knows what he's fixing to go do in a couple minutes. Like, if I'm Christ in this moment, I'm like, whoa, listen, hey, I got this. Like, hey, stop your crying. Everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. Let me go do what I do, go do my resurrection thing, and everything will be good. I got this problem fixed. But what did he do? Before he went in there and solved the problem, he met the need of the moment, and he mourned with them. Guys, we need to learn this as a skill, as almost an art, and it's going to be difficult. We need to resist the temptation to fix and to minimize and do all of these things that God wants us to do, just not in that particular time. Like, he has gifted us with the ability to solve problems, to fix things. But we need to do it at the right time. And sometimes the most appropriate thing that we can do in a moment where our spouse or our wife is having a bad day or they're mourning is just to cry with them. So can we practice? Guys, turn over. This is a little difficult to find, but if you get to the appendix, turn 5 pages back, and you'll get to a sheet that says, it's titled Conflict, and then at the top is the number 6, and it's to practice the skill of. I know that's complicated. Turn to the appendix, go 5 pages before the appendix, and go to the page with the number 6 at the top, to practice the skill of. I'll give you a second to get there. I know that's confusing. 5 pages before the appendix. 1, 2, 5. Okay? So what I want to refer to this as is the skill of emotional responding. Number 6, to practice the skill of emotional responding is that first blank there. And it's illustrated by Romans 12:15, and mourn with those who mourn. Letter A, as we just explained, that Jesus was moved with compassion. He was moved with compassion. As he came onto the scene with these women in response to Lazarus being dead, he was moved with compassion, and he entered into the world, and he mourned with them. Guys, I know that you can relate to this list. So many times when we're confronted with an opportunity to mourn with someone who is mourning, how we typically want to respond is with some facts, logic, or reason. Right? 8 most common wrong responses to someone desiring comfort. Facts, logic, and reason. Well, let me explain it. Let me tell you why you're struggling. Or number 2, criticism. This is sad, but we do it. I know I do it. Criticism. God, I can't believe you're having a bad day. It's not that bad. Number 3, comparison. You think your day was bad. Wait till you hear about mine. Number 4, advice. Well, if you just would do this, and this, and things might be a little bit better, and you can have a good day tomorrow. Number 5, a pep talk. Hey, this is actually something that I struggle with as a counselor. I feel like I'm gifted in exhorting people and encouraging people, and sometimes I want to just encourage her with even spiritualize it, getting down to number 7. Hey, Star, I know you had a bad day, but God is good. Like, God's going to work everything that you go through for His good according to His purposes.
Yeah, don't say that.
Like, but to try to encourage them, it's not meeting the need of the moment. Or we try to minimize it. It's not that bad. Or number 8, neglect. And as sad as it is to say, guys, I know this is hard. And I know since it's so unnatural for us that we go to number 8 and we just don't do anything. Golly, what does that communicate? No care, no concern, no attention, no nothing. And that leaves them in a position to go seek some comfort from somebody else. We don't want that. So we need to enter into their world, and we need to mourn with them in response to them having a bad day. Letter C, some ways to give comfort. Number 1, real simple here, guys. I'm gonna lay it out black and white. Number 1, I feel sad. I feel sad or hurt for you. I feel sad or hurt for you. Number 2, I don't like to see you hurt. I don't like to see you hurt. Number 3, I deeply care about and love you. I deeply care about and love you. Number 4, I'm committed to walk through this with you. I'm committed to walk through this with you. And guys, this is maybe one of the most difficult parts of this. You ready? Sometimes no words are necessary, just listen. And listen some more. And then listen a little bit more. And just when you think she's getting to the end of her story, listen to some more. Listen to her some more. Continue to listen and listen and listen. And I know you're going to be chomping at the bit. You're making your list in your mind of how she's going to do this tomorrow and do that differently. But just resist the temptation and just enter into her world and comfort her. And hey, what's beautiful about this is as you do a better job of meeting this need and entering their world and comforting them in their time of need, guess what's going to happen? They're going to ask you for advice. They just need to get it out. Several times, there's been times in our relationship, she's had a bad day. I come home, I'm making my list in my head, and I'm listening and listening and listening and listening. And sometimes I need to wait a couple hours, not of listening, but as the night goes on. And at the end of the night before bed, she's like, hey, I really appreciate you listening to me like that. Can you really help me with what I can do differently in homeschool tomorrow? Because I know that you're going to do a much better job of figuring this out than I can. And then I'm ready. Like, I've got my list, and I'm ready to go. Like, it is time. Okay? Give her some instruction. So sometimes no words are necessary. Just listen. Then finally, it could be just a hug. It could just be a hug. Sometimes the most appropriate way to give comfort can be a hug, or it can be even an appropriate grunt. Hey, if you give 30 minutes of that, you are money with this. Money with this. Money with this. Hey, let's put this into practice. I want to let you do this. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to, individually, I want you to think of a sad moment in your childhood. This is kind of the counseling part of the conference. It's a little uncomfortable, but I want you to think about a sad moment in your childhood. Preferably something that you haven't shared with your spouse. I know that might be difficult, but try to think of something. First thing that comes to your mind, sad moment in your childhood before 10. And what I want you to do is I want you to, guys, I want you to start, and I want you to share with your husbands this sad moment. And women, I want you to show them how it's done and what it looks like to comfort your husbands in their time of need. Mourn with them. I'm not talking about physically crying necessarily, but maybe. Women, show them how it's done. And then, women, it's your turn. I want you to share a painful moment in your childhood. And men, using the notes that you so meticulously took when your wife was giving you comfort, and from listening to this, give them comfort. Enter into their world and meet their need for comfort, okay? So I want you to take a couple minutes with that. Wives, start. Share your painful moment in childhood. Husbands, start. Share your painful moment in childhood. And wives, comfort them, and then swap roles. You know, it's amazing how when we talk about some of these childhood, hurts and how they've happened so long ago, and just the mention of them as we talk about them, and the tears that flow, and I think it illustrates something that is it's a lie that we've been tempted to believe, and it's that time heals all wounds. And I think it's just a lie. I don't think time heals all wounds. What I want to suggest is that a more appropriate thing to say is comfort heals wounds. As we are comforted and shown compassion for some of the things that we've gone through, it really helps us to work through some of those things. And so again, that wasn't the purpose of this exercise, but I think it's an added benefit of that. So, comfort.